You smell it the second you turn on your air conditioning, that damp, sour odor, that faint scent of mildew hiding behind what should be clean, cold air. Now imagine this. You step into a 10-year-old taxi in Tokyo in the middle of summer. The humidity is high, the city air is heavy, the driver turns on the air conditioning, and the air smells brand new. No mold, no musty odor, no chemical fragrance trying to mask decay, just clean, dry air. This is not luck. It is not a special filter. It is not an expensive disinfectant service. It is a ritual, a simple habit practiced quietly by Japanese drivers that stops mold before it ever has the chance to grow. And almost nobody outside Japan talks about it. Today, I will reveal the Japanese air conditioning ritual that stops mold instantly. Ignore this method, and every time you shut off your car, you may be creating the perfect breeding ground for bacteria inside your dashboard. Let us begin. To understand the ritual, you must first understand the enemy. Mold inside a car air conditioning system does not start in the vents. It does not start in the cabin filter. It begins deep inside the evaporator core. The evaporator is the cold heat exchanger hidden inside your dashboard. When you turn on the air conditioning, refrigerant flows through it, and warm, humid cabin air passes over its cold metal fins. Moisture from the air condenses into water droplets. This is normal. In fact, on a humid day, your evaporator can collect a surprising amount of water in a short time. That water drips into a drain pan and exits the vehicle through a small rubber drain tube underneath the car. If you have ever seen water pooling under your car after using the air conditioning, that is condensation draining out. But here is the problem. When you park your car immediately after running the air conditioning, the evaporator remains wet. The dark, enclosed housing around it traps moisture. The temperature rises slowly as the car sits in the heat, dark, damp. That is the perfect environment for mold and bacteria to grow. Over time, microscopic colonies begin forming on the evaporator fins. The next time you turn on the air conditioning, air blows across those colonies and carries the odor into your cabin. Most Western drivers respond with sprays, foams, and deodorizing bombs. Some work temporarily. They treat the symptom, not the cause. Japanese technicians approach the problem differently. They ask a simple question: why allow the evaporator to stay wet in the first place? The Japanese air conditioning ritual is based on moisture control, not chemical treatment. It consists of 3 coordinated steps performed during the final minutes of every drive. Step 1 is timing. Do not wait until you arrive at your destination to think about shutting off the air conditioning. Plan ahead. About 3 to 5 minutes before you park, turn off the air conditioning compressor and leave the blower fan running. In most vehicles, this means pressing the air conditioning button so the compressor disengages while the ventilation fan continues to operate. When you do this, the evaporator stops getting colder. Refrigerant flow ceases. The metal fins begin warming toward ambient temperature, but the fan continues to push air across the evaporator surface. This airflow begins drying the moisture that is accumulated during your drive. Instead of shutting the engine off with a wet evaporator, you are actively evaporating the remaining condensation. Step 2 is temperature alignment. When you switch off the compressor, slightly increase the temperature setting or disable recirculation mode so that outside air flows through the system. Outside air is often less saturated once the compressor is off, especially if you are moving. The combination of warmer air and continued airflow accelerates drying. This controlled drying period dramatically reduces residual moisture left inside the housing. Step 3 is airflow commitment. Many drivers lower fan speed near the end of a trip to reduce noise. The Japanese ritual does the opposite. During the final few minutes, maintain moderate fan speed to maximize air movement across the evaporator core. Airflow is what removes moisture. Without it, water lingers. This is the core of the ritual. 3 to 5 minutes, compressor off, fan on, moderate airflow, slightly warmer setting. That is it. It sounds almost too simple, but simplicity is often where mastery lives. please subscribe to our channel. We want to reach 1,000 subscribers this week. Now let us go deeper. Why does this method work so effectively compared to chemical treatments? Because mold requires sustained moisture. If the evaporator dries consistently after each drive, microbial growth never establishes a stable colony. Spores may enter through outside air, but without persistent dampness, they cannot thrive. In Japan, where summer humidity can be intense, taxi fleets rely heavily on this drying ritual. Vehicles operate for long hours every day, yet many remain odor-free for years without invasive cleaning. It is not magic, it is moisture discipline. There is also a secondary benefit. When you dry the evaporator before shutdown, you reduce corrosion on aluminum fins. Over time, constant wetness can contribute to surface degradation. Keeping the core drier extends its functional life. Some drivers worry that turning off the compressor early will make the cabin uncomfortable during the final minutes of a trip. In reality, the air remains cool for a short period because the evaporator is still cold. The difference is gradual and often barely noticeable. The ritual does not eliminate condensation completely. Some moisture will always remain. But reducing the duration of wet conditions from hours to minutes makes a dramatic difference in microbial growth. Now let us address common mistakes. First mistake, spraying disinfectant into the vents without addressing the moisture. This may temporarily mask odor, but if the evaporator remains wet after every drive, mold returns. Second mistake, running the air conditioning only on recirculation mode all the time. Recirculation can cool the cabin faster, but prolonged use may increase humidity retention inside the system. Alternating with fresh air improves airflow dynamics and moisture evacuation. Third mistake, ignoring the cabin air filter. While the filter does not cause mold directly, a clogged filter restricts AIR flow. Reduced airflow means reduced drying capacity during the ritual. Replace the cabin filter at recommended intervals to maintain proper ventilation. There is also an advanced extension of the ritual practiced by meticulous drivers. After parking, if it is safe and practical, leave the ventilation system on for a brief moment with the compressor off before shutting down entirely. Even 30 extra seconds of airflow can help equalize moisture. In extremely humid climates, some drivers perform an occasional manual ventilation cycle. This means running the fan without the air conditioning for several minutes at the start of a drive to purge stale air before cooling begins. These habits create a consistent dry cycle that mold cannot easily survive. Consider the difference between two vehicles. One driver uses the air conditioning until the exact moment the engine is turned off every single day. The evaporator remains soaked for hours in a sealed hot cabin. Another driver performs the drying ritual before every shutdown. The evaporator surface moisture is reduced dramatically each time. After 1 year, which system will smell cleaner? After 5 years, the difference becomes obvious. The Japanese air conditioning ritual is not about technology. It is about understanding condensation physics. Cold metal surfaces collect water. Water left in darkness breeds odor. Airflow removes water. Control the moisture, control the mold. If your vehicle already has a strong odor, the ritual alone may not eliminate existing colonies immediately. A one-time professional cleaning might be necessary to reset the system. But once clean, the ritual prevents recurrence. Many drivers assume unpleasant air conditioning smell is inevitable after a few years. It is not. It is a result of repeated wet shutdown cycles. Your car does exactly what you train it to do. Shut it off wet, and it stays wet. Dry it intentionally, and it stays clean. The power of this method lies in repetition, 3 to 5 minutes at the end of every drive, not once a month, not occasionally, every time. This is how small habits compound into long-term mechanical health. Clean air, healthier cabin environment, reduced bacterial growth, less need for harsh chemical treatments, and perhaps most importantly, the quiet satisfaction of knowing your system is maintained by understanding, not by reaction. The next time you approach your destination, remember the ritual. Turn off the compressor. Let the fan run. Allow the evaporator to breathe and dry. Prevent mold before it begins. The difference between a musty system and a fresh one is often measured in the final 3 minutes of your drive. Master those 3 minutes and you master your climate system. Please subscribe to our channel. We want to hit 1,000 subscribers this week.